I'm Kevin at Epigeneering, your host. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Brown's gas, which is something that was invented back in the 60s, and the patent for it was belonged to the late William Rhodes. And yet it's called Brown's gas because the person who promoted it around the world was named Yule Brown. And let me read you a little something here. Brown's gas is known by many trade names, although the most recognizable within the YouTube community is HHO. And we in the community know that as a fuel source, and there's been a lot of different videos that are available on different people who are experimenting with it. But it's most commonly known as an alternative fuel, and the study is in alternatives for gasoline. And the research that's gone on has really revealed some amazing and highly beneficial biological and environmental differences that it can make. Some of the advantages are decreasing carbon-based fuel consumption, of course, gasoline, providing low-cost, superior replacement for torch fuel gases. You take water, you put it in there, it pumps out some gas, and you can run a torch with it, and it's the cleanest, hottest little thing, and you don't take very much energy to put it all together. It's very economical and affordable, and should replace oxyacetylene already. And there's also a tripling of the crop production, and that's a very interesting idea because without any pesticides and without any chemicals and things that are dangerous or toxic to the body, all of our food would be much, much better if we could increase the yield by 30% simply by adding hydrogen. It just sounds great, doesn't it? So then you also get this effect where it heals bodies and helps your body heal from virtually all the ailments, and increasing healthy lifespan is proven by 30%. It's amazing. So if you do any searches on the internet nowadays, you'll find that there is somebody that has picked up the torch on Brown's gas, and that somebody is George Wiseman. George started researching Brown's gas in the late 1980s and now has optimized his electrolyzer designs for the most efficient, safe, and practical application of Brown's gas to achieve biological benefits. So here to explain some of the unique and sometimes unexpected properties of Brown's gas and how these are being applied to benefit mankind. I'd like you all to give a warm welcome to Mr. George Wiseman. Hi, George.
Hi.
So in today's interview, I would really like to start out by saying, you're one of the most prolific researchers that has actually documented your research and put it online for everybody to learn and enjoy. And I've seen so many of your videos. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what spurred you on to continue your research?
Well, I'm 60, so it's a long story. But way back when I was a little kid, I grew up on a cattle ranch. We had no electricity, no running water, no radio, no TV. There was no internet. We couldn't have done any such thing like this. We lived in, my mom grew a garden, and we went to town once a month. And that was our life. I grew up on horseback, essentially. And then
Where was that?
That was in, actually, it started on a ranch in Montana. And then my dad bought a bigger ranch in, in British Columbia. So we moved to north and became Canadians, actually. And in the wilds of the middle of British Columbia is where, like, we were a day's drive from town, for example, and stuff. So anyway, We did really
So,
well there,
yeah,
and
British Columbia, that's wild territory. I've been through there quite a few times. I'm
yeah,
of
it's
course in
cool.
Seattle, so
Yeah,
very similar.
yes, yeah. The lower mainland's pretty built up, but when you get up into the middle of BC, where I was, halfway between Prince Rupert and Prince George, the
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty wild. So anyway, lots of good experiences. However, when I left the ranch and started traveling around the United States, I learned the comforts of hot and cold running water and electricity and all these things. I did really well in school, like, and anything I've needed to learn, I've just learned. So and I did things on the ranch I didn't know I couldn't do because nobody was telling me I couldn't do them. So I had a Ford pickup truck, for example, that got 36 miles to the gallon, an F-150 Ford pickup truck. Yeah.
I've had a
And,
few of those. Never had that kind of results.
so my beginning was when I decided to write a book and tell people what I did. Once I realized if that's the thing, actually, the story goes, I went to the television and I said, these things are the late night, and then wait more and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, they said, no, we won't put it on TV because it's too easy. And anybody can do it. So I started thinking about it and I thought, okay, I'll write a book and I'll sell the book and I'll teach people how to do it. And I sold the book, and then people bought the kit from the book, and then I started my research business in 1984, and I've been a self-employed inventor ever since, self-financed as well. So the things I
Outstanding.
exactly. So in about 1986, I got into Brown's gas because I wanted to make a torch for my shop. Being an inventor, I do things that aren't on the shelf. I use as much off-the-shelf things as I can, but once in a while I have to do something like they said you could weld plastic to titanium, and I thought that'd be a neat thing to be able to do. So I went to buy a torch, but they were quoting me $300,000 for a torch at that time, a machine that would make the Brown's gas to run a normal torch. So I decided, well, I know something about electrolysis, and I did all the research I could. And in a couple of years, I developed my own machine. Now, I'd never been in a room with an actual Brown's gas machine, so my machine was pretty good. And it turned out that when we actually compared my machine to the machines that were the technology that was in the market at that time, which, by the way, the price had come down considerable by that time, but my machine was half the weight, half the size, and produced twice the gas with the same amount of electricity. So there you go. And so I started selling my version of the machine, the Brown's gas machine, and then about 1996, this was for torch fuel, and that brings it in 1996. One of my customers had a melanoma on his forehead, and God knows why, God knows why, he took the Brown's gas, bubbled it in water, and then drank the bubbled water, but also used on a cotton ball. He put it in a little plastic cap, and he put the plastic cap on his melanoma, changed the water out several times a day. Again, I have no idea why a person would even think to do that. It was a torch fuel gas. It was used for combustion in automobiles. The gas, it was used for burning things with a torch. But he did it, and then he made Brown's gas bubbled water, which then he treated, and in 3 weeks' time, the melanoma was gone. Smooth skin. 3 weeks'
Now,
time. I didn't believe him.
six
Okay.
months ago, if I had heard that story, I would be going, well, I don't know. But since I have the machine and we watched your videos and I know that story, we started working with my wife because she has some skin like brown spots that are said to be liver spots and things like that, but really I think it's a melanoma. And so we put some on the cloth, just like you said. Amazing results. I mean, disappeared in I think it was 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks, and she had multiple places and even a little bit on her. She had like freckles that would come in and wouldn't go away, and so they're all disappearing. And so the results of things that people can do for themselves are so amazing now. We're finding out all kinds of really good things. So the
Yeah.
next
So
question would be
just
around the
to
world. I
complete
say
that story,
keep
if I
going,
may.
keep
Okay.
going.
So it took me. So I told my customers, which I had several thousand by that time, about this potential health application of the gas, which I didn't believe in, and I told them so. But a lot of them tried it as well, and then I started getting hundreds of testimonials where people were doing it. But it still took me till 2005 before I actually drank brown scat bubbled water myself. Okay, 1996 to 2005. Okay, by 2007 I was convinced. That took me 2 years. You were convinced a lot quicker than me. All right, I'm an inventor. I'm supposed to be open-minded, but I wasn't. And so by 2007, I started making my ER50 water torch, a little tabletop one that could be used for health application for bubbling the water. So then my customers were asking me, can we inhale the gas? And I'm still stuck in the old paradigm, okay? It's an explosive gas. You don't want your lungs to go boom, you know, blood splattered on the walls. Actually, it wouldn't be that bad. It would just be blood running out of your nose and mouth and you suffocate to death. But
well, in the 60s, when everybody smoked cigarettes, you could have that thing in your nose and go light a cigarette and boom.
There was a guy who did that, and it did ignite the gas, and it did explode, but he wasn't breathing more than a 4% mixture into his lungs, like I teach. So the explosion just went back into the machine and went bang, and everything was okay. And then he had the balls to tell me about it. But the truth bar, whatever you're going to say.
Bless him.
Anyway,
Bless him.
2013,
for sharing the information.
Yes. But in 2013, I got a video from a customer of a Korean hydrogen bar where they were using Brown's gas, and people would go in and get the inhalation, which, by the way, I usually inhale when I'm on these videos. I start without, but then I put because when I'm at my computer like this, I'm always inhaling. Just a second while I turn on the machine. Okay. So because I believe in it and I inhale as much as I can. So in 2013, but I had issues. I was a full-time caretaker with my late wife at that time, and I didn't do anything until she passed. And then after she passed, I started working with the Brown's gas, and I have a video online. You've probably seen it, where I was inhaling for the very first time. And again, the juice pie, I thought, if I blow up or something, people will be able to see my stupidity on video. So I inhaled, and then everything was fine, and I had carefully made sure I wouldn't be inhaling too much and all that kind of stuff. It explains it on the video. And then I just kept inhaling. I thought I was healthy. Okay, I didn't think that, but then I had neuropathy in my palm of this hand. I was losing the feeling. I had neuropathy on the fronts of my legs. I had warts. I had arthritis. I was bald down to here. You'll be able to see that on the video. I'm actually got hair up to here now, and and hairs are coming in here. Well, you can't see them on this because it kind of cuts it out. But I don't wear glasses anymore. If you look at my old pictures, you'll see I was wearing glasses. I don't even remember all the different things. There's at least 12 different things that started to get better. Psoriasis. I thought I just had thick peeling skin on my elbows, knees, and feet because it was calluses, because I grew up on a cattle ranch, So, no, that all went away. I have baby smooth skin there now and stuff. So anyway, all these things started to happen, which I did not expect and had no clue about, and convinced me to continue inhaling as much as I could. And then eventually, of course, I made a machine that people could inhale from, and it has developed into the machine you have right there. Yes.
That's
the story how I got into it.
Fantastic. I breathe the gas for hours every day. I do a lot of work on the computer, and especially now when we're all under lockdown, it's sitting there. We bubble the water that we give to the animals, except for the horse, which it's hard to bubble that much water. And I've done a lot of early experiments with different ways of pulling the Brown's gas out. And I've had a few explosions where I'm learning, and so the flashback through the system has destroyed a few of my containers. That then I figured out how to do a blowback arrestor, and I put together some other things. I worked in the University of Washington, where I had a shop for the lab, and that was Jerry Pollack's lab. where I was doing some work building different devices for the PhDs. And when I got a hold of the Brown's gas idea, I started working on that in there. And then through planets aligning and the quantum physics of reality, suddenly there you were with Jerry at the water conference. And my mind went, I have to have this. I have to do this because it's right along with my research. And originally like you, I was using it as a fuel. I build Tesla turbines. You ever see those?
Oh yeah, I have a document on them.
You what?
I actually sell a little how-to book on those, on Tesla, and references on the Tesla turbine.
Oh, absolutely.
Tesla's my hero, and I live near Niagara Falls now, so I actually get to see a statue of Tesla every so often when I go to town.
Oh, I'd love a picture.
Okay.
Because when I was 12 years old, my dad gave me the book Prodigal Son, or the Prodigal Genius, about Tesla, and I've been practicing ever since. I went through the Navy and got a degree in electrical engineering and wave propagation, and then I went afterwards and got electronic engineering and so digital theory and things like that. So I've been trying to adapt the Brown's gas as a fuel to spin the turbine that then generates electricity to separate the water, and try to get something over unity. Well, it's not really over unity because the fuel is trapped in the water. And so it's using fuel to give the output, but I want to use the output to then separate the fuel. And it seems like a workable idea, but I have yet to perfect it because I'm doing it out of dumpsters and collected washing machine parts and things like that. I've done quite a bit. I have.
Believe me, I know how that goes. When I grew up on the ranch, that was the kind of thing. We never threw anything away because you never knew what you were going to need. But luckily, we had hundreds of acres to store things on, so that wasn't a big problem. And now I live near town, and my wife makes me throw away things, so the place stays clean and neat. Anyway,
funny how we have the same problem.
One thing I would point out is there's a possibility of over unity. My using Brown's gas with something called the Lord's pump. Are you familiar with the Lord's pump? Okay, so there's a with Al Throckmorton and stuff. So I think that's the most promising way that I know of right now, because in order to, but there have been people who have developed electrolyzers, the Anton machine, for example, designed.
I looked at it.
Yeah, that because of its configuration, it's a very efficient electrolysis configuration, and they were able to run an internal combustion engine, making enough power to make the run the electrolyzer and have excess electricity. So it has been done. I haven't done it. I'd like to get back into that kind of research, but I'm kind of busy right now.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of, we've all looked at Stanley Meyer and his work because it made the news. And when he's driving around in his dune buggy and making claims, as a very religious person, you kind of get the feeling that he's being as honest as he and forthright as he is, but he's still dancing around the truth. And so he never, as a businessman, he doesn't let out his secrets, but as a good man of faith, he needs to share this with everybody. Have you done any breakthrough work with any legacy from Stanley Meyer?
Not personally, but there was a fellow named Freddie. I don't know if you've heard of Freddie. He was, there's a bunch of research. It was done, I'm going to say at least 6-8 years ago, something like that. And he did it in I think it was a Dodge Dakota pickup truck. He made it self-run on the Myers technology. And then he said, okay, I'll replicate it on video. And he had a series of videos, and I downloaded every one the instant they came on. But when he got to the end where it was going to be the key components of what it was happening, all of a sudden he disappeared, and I've never heard anything from him since. Yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein comes to mind.
It wasn't Epstein. No, it was they called him Freddie for some reason, and I can't remember all the other details. It was called the hydrogen hog.
The
is what
hydrogen
he,
hog. I'll look it up.
and Freddie. Another was John Caracas developed a machine, and so Bob Boyce supposedly as well. But again, they
I've
had
heard of those names.
electrolyzers that could run an engine. And the John, he was paid millions of dollars. He said, I was paid out, and I can't say anything anymore. And but he didn't disappear. Freddie said, Freddie owned a gun shop, and he said, yeah, come for me. I'm not going to sell out. I'm going to make this thing happen. And there were stories that he found rattlesnakes in his car and stuff like that. It was pretty crazy, but he kept on going until he was getting close to the end, and then everything disappeared.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the next question, and I kind of a little hesitant to ask this kind of out in the open, but I had a security clearance at one time. I know how things work in the U.S., and I know that it's hard to fight big money. And the oil industry is the biggest money. It's the biggest money on the planet. It's the biggest organization on the planet. And it's all built around fuel. Seeing that we have this alternative that not only works as a fuel source if it's perfected, but also has so many other beneficial, useful, and needed properties
Application.
that we could take advantage of.
Yeah.
What do you see as what would it take for us to tip the scales and push the paradigm in our direction? Do you have a thought on that?
I'm not sure which paradigm, and I would say that first of all, you said the big oil is the most influential. I would beg to say that they have just been superseded by big pharma.
Okay.
Big
Yeah.
pharma has shut down everything. Oil has dropped out the bottom of the price because they couldn't compete against big pharma. Okay, so that was my little say on that.
Okay. My
We are
understanding
trying to
is
make.
that big oil owns big pharma.
Pardon?
My understanding is that big oil owns big pharma.
Oh, well, there you go. And it probably is true. Okay, so big pharma, big oil is probably going to be really unhappy with me because we have now this technology here can pretty much help the body heal from virtually every ailment known to man. And that's what we're discovering. That's what science is discovering. I have a huge amount of anecdotal and empirical evidence gathered since 1996. And so I don't think there's anybody been in the hydrogen for health business longer than I have. Unless you do count the Kangen and Life Machines and stuff, because they were accidentally in the hydrogen for health business. Uh, because what they did is they developed what's called a flow-through electrolyzer. So the water flows through the electrolyzer, positive and negative plates, and it would separate the water streams into what they called high and low pH. Well, it turns out that the pH didn't mean anything. What it was oxygenated and hydrogenated water. So the water with the hydrogen, which happened to be the high pH, was healthful to drink. They knew it anecdotally, and they proved it scientifically, but they didn't able to. And the other was they used for cleaning oxygen. Um, so they thought that it was a high pH. They'd never measured the hydrogen in the water. They thought it was a high pH that was causing the health benefits. So all these people with alkaline water, for 40 years, it was taught that alkaline water is healthful. It wasn't. The alkaline itself didn't have anything to do with the health. It all had to do with the hydrogen in the water. Like you can make alkaline water by putting lye in it, for example. You can get a pH of 13. If you drink that, it's not going to be healthful for you. But if you put the hydrogen, so what they did is they scientifically kept the pH at 9.5 or whatever, and they took away the hydrogen, and they discovered the health benefits disappeared. Plants didn't grow better, all those sort of things. They took the pH away, made it a neutral pH, left in the hydrogen content, and all the health benefits were maintained. So hydrogen for health has been around for a long time. They just didn't know it. Now,
Everybody can take advantage of that, and you can do this at home. You get some of this equipment, and you can test this for yourself, find out how true it is, and then bypass all of the misinformation that's out there and learn for yourself what the true benefits of this are. It's miraculous that now the opportunity is there, even in the face of this huge need for a solution that people can have in their home that gives them these health benefits, and the science behind it, you really don't have to understand if you prove it to yourself that it's working. So there's a lot of people out there that are discovering things, that are understanding things at the base level that they have absolutely no scientific training, and it's working for them. People can adopt it in that fashion without having to go the other route, which, like nuclear safety, is completely dependent upon these people with, you know, coat and a tie, stand up there, very, very well respected people who say everything's going to be great. And every time they have a nuclear accident, they say, well, that wasn't our fault. So, you know, trusting the authority. I have a book called The Tyranny of the Experts. And that is trusting a governmental organization authority for your health is probably not the best idea that you can come up with. But if you go to the grassroots of where these ideas come from, the information is all there. One of my favorite doctors is Dr. Joel Wallach, and he did a lot of research. His work is in the Institute, the Smithsonian Institute, as a national treasure. And when you add the benefits of hydrogen water to the micronutrients and nanonutrients in his formula, you get a double whammy that has literally repaired my hip in just amazing time. So let me tell you a little bit of a story here. I was out chopping down trees and I had my chainsaw. I'm also 60 years old. I was born in 1959. And so I'm out here and I tried to lift up this round and it's way too heavy for me. And back in my 30s, I skied off a cliff when I was skiing up in the mountains, and I separated my hip. So it's always been damaged. There's always scar tissue there. And I tried to lift this tree up and boom, oh man, it went bad right there. And so I didn't really go see a doctor. I was working with some medical doctors at the university and I said, what do you think? And he says, you might need a hip replacement. And I said, oh, no. So what I did was I started mixing the water with some of these nutrients that is specifically for osteo conditions. And in 3 months, my hip has grown back to where I'm hopping on my motorcycle, hopping on the horse. I'm doing all the things. I'm out tilling the garden and everything. I feel great. Last time this happened, it took 2 years. So the health benefits, you prove it to yourself, and inside of your brain, you start going, wow, this is really good. And I don't pretend to know what's going on at the hydrogen level because there's the smallest molecule in the universe. But when you see the effects of it, they're undeniable. And I think this is really going to bust loose because of the current conditions. And I would like to know, in your opinion, since you're a world traveler that brings this message out to people, you've been all over Europe and all around the world, what do you think is the message that you would like to bring to the young people who can get into this and start experimenting with it and be the next generation of people who are inventing and creating new ideas to utilize this most beneficial and primal resource that we can have? What do you think?
Well, I really like it, and I do have some young people coming in, and I really appreciate that. I know that I'm not going to live forever. I am 60. I'm looking to go for 120, so I'm half my age, right?
You and me both, buddy.
However, I know that I'd like to pass on my knowledge, and the young people are the people to pass it on to. And I remember when I was young, and so I am training some young people, but worldwide, this is what's need to happen. And we've discovered that the sooner you start actually inhaling the gas, the less age you end up locking yourself in at. You age slower. So the sooner the better. you don't end up with the arthritis and all the other kinds of things. Of course, you'll still have to eat a healthy diet. Don't drink your sodas and sugar and all that stuff. But there's a lot of young people who are paying attention. So they get into the technology, they start using it for health purposes, and then of course you can use it for the torch purposes and the other things as well as you learn about the gas and all the different applications. You talked about nuclear, for example. One of the actual really good applications of the Brown's gas is to neutralize radioactive waste, concentrated radioactive waste. This has been proven in research laboratories where they use the flame and some iron and aluminum and mix up the equal parts of the nuclear waste, heat it with the flame until it goes pop, because the iron and aluminum turn into thermite. And then that pop, with the energy putting in from the Brown's gas, it reformats the nuclear waste, redoes its molecular structure so that it's no longer, it's all balanced and it no longer has to emit the radiation, the gamma, beta, all those other particles. It essentially takes out 96% of the radiation in about 20 seconds. So, and this can be done, just one of my normal ER 1600 water torches can, in one per nuclear reactor, so about $8,000 per nuclear reactor. In the nuclear reactor, they already have electricity, they already have water. That's all you need to run the machine. So they could neutralize all the radioactive waste that's generated by nuclear reactors right there. So this has already been proven in China, the United States, and Canada.
So have you gotten a call from the DOE?
Oh, no, just the opposite. Just the opposite.
What do you mean?
It is suppressed big time. Yeah.
Right. So for my listeners out there, don't trust anybody that disagrees with George. Because
I try to tell people the truth because I'm trying to pass on the information of what I have. I actually wouldn't mind people taking over a lot of the things that I do. I try to teach as many people as possible till there reaches a point where people are doing things as well or better than I am, and then I can go off and into another line of research, which I have many things that I want to do before I leave this planet.
Well, I can't wait till one day hand you a screwdriver and pick up a hammer next to you. I think that would be a lot of fun. And I'm your guy. I'm out here in Seattle, and I'm raising awareness to everybody that I can talk to, anybody that will listen, and I'm showing the technology to them, and I'm allowing them to come in for free and experience what it can do for them. But my goal here is to develop a business here in the Northwest and have this available for people that need the therapeutic results that you can get from this. And I'm having a difficult time wondering, how do I put that together? And as time goes on, I'm sure I'll get a few ideas, try out a few things, and share that with you. I'm running out of time, and I'm limited on my upload. And so I hate to cut it short because I feel like we have so much to talk about.
No worries, we can do it again. We've got a lot of the introductory things apart, so maybe your customers will ask you some questions and we can address those in the next episodes.
Outstanding. I also have some very cool explosions that I got on high-speed camera that I'd like to show you. I do have a science channel where I'm doing a lot of these things, and so please stay tuned and love to share all that information with you.
Enjoy.
Thank you so much. Bye for now, and the blessings be with you.
May the blessings be.